Kate Morrison stood in the control room of her ship. She watched the planet below them turn slowly on the big screen. The planet looked peaceful with its blue oceans and green land. After 3 years flying through empty space, finding this world felt like winning a prize. She was 34 years old and had spent half her life in space. Kate loved the feeling of finding new things. Her blonde hair was cut short because long hair was difficult in zero gravity. She wore the dark blue uniform of an exploration captain. Danny Price sat at the science station. He was young, only 23, and this was his first deep space mission. His fingers moved quickly over the controls as he read the data coming from the planet below. "Commander, I am reading signs of intelligent life down there," Danny said. His voice showed his excitement. "They have cities and towns. Their technology looks like it is from the steam engine era, maybe 200 years behind Earth." Kate smiled. This was exactly what they had hoped to find. A civilization they could study and maybe make friends with. "Good work, Danny. Start the first contact procedures. We need to make sure we do not scare them or damage their culture." Jake Sullivan worked at the weapons station. He was not really a soldier. None of them were. The Horizon's Edge was an exploration ship, not a warship. They had a few basic weapons for protection against space debris and maybe pirates, but nothing serious. The ship suddenly shook hard. Red lights flashed everywhere. Loud alarms filled the control room. Kate grabbed her chair to stay standing. "What happened?" she shouted over the noise. Jake looked at his screen with wide eyes. Multiple ships just appeared out of nowhere. They were invisible, and now they are not. I have never seen ships like these before. They are charging their weapons. Kate opened her mouth to give orders, but never got the chance. Bright energy beams hit their ship. The shields that protected them failed in seconds. More alarms screamed as system after system stopped working. The exploration ship had thin shields meant for radiation and small rocks, not military weapons. These alien weapons cut through their defenses like they were made of paper. Shields are gone. Engines are dead. "Life support is running on backup power," Jake reported. His hands shook as he read the damage reports. "We cannot move. We cannot fight. We are sitting ducks." The main screen went black. Emergency lights came on, making everything look red and scary. Kate felt her heart pounding but forced herself to stay calm. Her crew needed her to be strong. "Everyone stay calm," she said in a firm voice. "Danny, can you get communications working?" Danny worked at his station for a few seconds. "Yes, short range only. We can talk to nearby ships but cannot call for help. Try to contact them." "Maybe this is a misunderstanding," Kate said, though she did not believe it. "You do not shoot first and ask questions later unless you mean to attack." Before Danny could try, the door to the control room exploded inward. Smoke filled the air. Through it came creatures that looked like they were from a nightmare. They were tall, much taller than any human. Kate guessed they were 7 feet or more. Their bodies were covered in hard shells that looked like armor, but seemed to be part of their skin. Each one had 4 arms ending in sharp claws. Their faces were all hard angles and edges, with big eyes made of many small parts like an insect. 20 of these creatures poured into the control room. They carried weapons that glowed with barely controlled energy. They moved with the confidence of soldiers who knew they had already won. The biggest one stepped forward. His armor was fancier than the others, with symbols carved into it that probably showed his rank. A small device on his chest lit up when he spoke. It turned his clicking, buzzing speech into words Kate could understand. "I am Commander Zarkoth of the Rexian Empire. This ship now belongs to the Empire. Put down your weapons. You are prisoners now." Kate looked around at her crew. 12 humans, most of them scientists and engineers. Sarah Kim was a doctor. Danny was a biologist. Jake had some military training but had never been in real combat. None of them were ready for this. She slowly raised her hands to show she was not going to fight. Her mind was racing, trying to think of a way out. There was not one. At least not yet. "We are explorers, not soldiers," Kate said, keeping her voice steady. "We did not know this area belonged to anyone. We mean no harm. There's no need for violence." The alien commander made a sound that his translator turned into laughter. "Not knowing does not save you, human. You entered Empire space. Your ship, your technology, and your lives belong to the Empire now. Fight us and you will die." One of the alien soldiers walked toward Jake. It reached for the small gun on Jake's belt. All bridge crew carried basic sidearms, though most had never fired them outside of training. Jake had his hand on the weapon, not to draw it, but just resting there out of habit. When the alien grabbed for the gun, Jake pulled back without thinking. It was just reflex, not defiance. But the alien did not care about the difference. The creature hit Jake across the face with one of its forearms. The blow was incredibly strong. Jake flew backward and crashed into a wall. He slid to the floor, blood pouring from his broken nose. "Stop this right now," Kate shouted. She moved to stand between the alien and Jake. "We are cooperating. There is no reason to hurt anyone." Commander Zarkoth walked closer to Kate. His huge form towered over her. Those strange compound eyes looked down at her like she was an insect he might step on. "You think you can give me orders, human? You think you have any power here?" He gestured to his soldiers with two of his arms. "Perhaps you need to learn your place in this new reality." He looked at Kate for a long moment as if deciding whether to kill her now or later. Then he spoke again. "Disarm her." 3 alien soldiers moved toward Kate. The control room went completely silent except for the sound of broken equipment sparking and the soft moans from Jake on the floor. Everyone held their breath. Kate's hand moved slowly to the weapon on her own belt. She could feel the weight of it there, a small piece of metal and plastic that would do almost nothing against these armored aliens. But it was something. More than that, it was about making a choice. She could surrender, give up, let these creatures take her and her crew to whatever horrible fate awaited prisoners of this empire. That would be the smart choice. The logical choice. The choice that would probably let more of them survive, or she could fight. It would be stupid, pointless. They would probably all die. But at least they would die on their feet, not on their knees. Kate thought about Earth, about humanity's long history. She thought about all the times humans had faced impossible odds and fought anyway. She thought about every person who had ever looked at certain death and said, "Not today." A smile slowly spread across her face. It was not a happy smile or a friendly smile. It was the smile of a predator that had decided it was done being prey. Commander Zarkoth saw that smile and felt something he had not felt in many years of conquest. It was just a tiny feeling, barely noticeable, but it was there, cold and sharp in his chest. It was doubt. Kate spoke softly, but everyone in the room heard her clearly. "Big mistake." Her hand closed around her weapon. Kate drew her weapon faster than the aliens expected. She aimed for the gaps in their armor that she could see at the joints where their arms connected to their bodies. 2 shots fired, both hitting the nearest soldier. The creature fell backward, making a horrible screeching sound like metal being torn apart. Before the other aliens could react, Kate dropped and rolled behind her command chair. She used it as a shield between her and the enemy. Her voice came out loud and clear despite the chaos. "Everyone fight back. Show these creatures what humans can do." Something changed in that moment. The fear that had frozen the crew in place turned into something else. Something that had been sleeping in human DNA for hundreds of thousands of years woke up. It was the same thing that had helped their ancestors survive when giant bears and tigers hunted them. It was the human survival instinct. Jake grabbed his weapon from where it had fallen. Blood still poured from his broken nose, but he did not care. From the floor, he fired at another alien. The shot hit the creature's leg joint and it crashed down. Jake scrambled behind a computer station for cover. Danny Price had never hurt anyone in his whole life. He was a scientist who studied plants and small animals. But when an alien soldier came at him, Danny grabbed a heavy piece of broken equipment. He swung it with all his strength. The metal connected with the alien's head with a sickening crunch. The creature fell and did not get up. The control room became a war zone in seconds. The aliens had better weapons and better armor. They were bigger and stronger. They had more soldiers. By every logical measure, the humans should have given up. They should have surrendered. But humans do not think logically when their survival is threatened. Humans fight. It is what they do. It is what they have always done. Kate moved through the chaos like she had been born for this. She had grown up on Mars where children learned survival skills almost from birth. The colony was harsh and dangerous. She had trained with Earth's military before becoming an explorer. Her body knew what to do even when her mind could not think. An alien rushed toward her hiding spot. Kate waited until it was very close. Then she hit the emergency release button for a wall panel. The heavy door shot out sideways and slammed into the alien. The creature was thrown across the room and crashed into the far wall. It did not move again. Sarah Kim was the ship's doctor. She was a healer, trained to save lives, not take them. When an alien grabbed her with 2 of its forearms, she did not freeze. She went straight for its eyes. Her thumbs drove into the compound eye structures as hard as she could push. The alien screamed and let her go. clutching at its damaged eyes. Sarah picked up the weapon it dropped and shot the creature twice. The other crew members fought with whatever they could find. Computer equipment became clubs. Broken metal became spears. Their own bodies became weapons. They bit and scratched and kicked. They fought like cornered animals because that was exactly what they were. Commander Zarkoth watched his soldiers fall one by one. He could not believe what he was seeing. These were not warriors. His intelligence reports had confirmed they were scientists and explorers. They had almost no weapons training. They should have surrendered immediately. Instead, they fought like nothing he had ever seen before. They showed no fear even when wounded. They used anything and everything as weapons. They worked together without needing to speak. It was like watching a pack of predators defend their territory. One of his best soldiers had Kate pinned down behind her chair. Zarkoth saw his chance. He would kill this human female himself. He would show his troops how to handle these creatures. He would restore order. He moved to attack Kate from the side where she could not see him coming. His weapon was raised and ready to fire. He would end this rebellion with a single shot. He never saw Danny Price until it was too late. The young man had found a fire extinguisher mounted on the wall. It was a heavy metal cylinder designed to put out fires in the ship's systems. Danny swung it like a bat and connected with the side of Zarkoth's head. Even through his armored skull, the impact rang Zarkoth's brain like a bell. He went down hard, his weapon flying from his hands and sliding across the floor. His vision blurred and pain shot through his head. Kate rolled out from behind her chair. She moved quickly to Zarkoth and pressed her weapon against his head right where the armor was thinnest. Her finger rested on the trigger, ready to fire. "Tell your soldiers to stop fighting. Do it now or I will kill you." Zarkoth looked up at her. Through his pain and confusion, he felt something he had not felt in his entire military career. It was a cold, sharp feeling in his chest that made it hard to breathe. He was afraid, not just afraid of dying. He had faced death before in battle. This was different. He was afraid of these humans, of what they represented. They fought when they should surrender. They refused to accept defeat even when it was certain. They were willing to die rather than give up. He looked around the control room. Of the 20 Vrexian soldiers who had entered, 8 were dead. 9 more were wounded or unable to fight. Only 3 were still standing and combat ready. The humans had lost 3 crew members killed and 5 were wounded. But the survivors were still fighting, still ready to continue. Zarkoth had fought in dozens of battles across the galaxy. He had conquered many different species. All of them had surrendered when the odds became hopeless. They calculated their chances and chose to live rather than die in pointless resistance. These humans did not calculate. They just fought. He clicked a command into his translator device. The words came out in the human language. "Cease combat. Lower your weapons." The remaining Vrexian soldiers stopped fighting immediately. They lowered their weapons but kept them ready, waiting for further orders. The humans did not lower their weapons. They kept everything pointed at the aliens, ready to resume fighting at any moment. Kate pulled Zarkoth to his feet, keeping her weapon pressed against his head the whole time. She spoke loudly so everyone could hear. "Jake, get communications fully working. Danny, collect all their weapons. Sarah, see to our wounded once the aliens are secured. Everyone else, keep your weapons on these creatures. If any of them even twitches wrong, shoot it." Her crew moved to obey. They were bloody and bruised. Some were limping. Others had burns or cuts. But they all moved with purpose. The fear was gone, replaced by something harder and colder. Kate looked at Zarkoth with those cold blue eyes. "Now we are going to have a conversation. You are going to tell me everything about your empire. You are going to explain why you attacked a peaceful exploration vessel, and you are going to help me contact your fleet, and if I refuse?" Zarkoth asked, though he already knew the answer. Kate smiled. It was that same dangerous smile she had shown before the fighting started. "Then I will show you what happens when you threaten humans and we have nothing left to lose. Your soldiers learned that lesson today. 8 of them learned it permanently. Do you want to be the 9th? Zarkoth looked at the bodies of his soldiers scattered around the control room. He thought about how quickly these untrained humans had adapted to combat. He thought about their willingness to die rather than surrender. He thought about that cold fury in the human commander's eyes. For the first time in his career, Commander Zarkoth decided that cooperation was better than defiance. "I will answer your questions," he said quietly. Kate nodded. She did not lower her weapon. "Good. Let us start with the basics. What is the Vrexian Empire and why did you attack us? As Zarkoth began to talk, Jake worked on getting full communications back online. The Vrexian ships outside were probably wondering what had happened to their boarding party. Soon they would find out. And Kate was going to make sure they understood exactly what kind of mistake they had made when they decided to attack humans. For 3 hours, Kate kept her weapon pointed at Commander Zarkoth. Her crew worked around her, treating the wounded and trying to fix the damaged ship systems. The captured aliens sat on the floor under guard, their weapons taken away. Jake managed to get the communication system working again, at least partly. His face was swollen and purple from the earlier attack, but his hands worked steadily over the controls. He looked up at Kate with one eye almost swollen shut. Commander, the Vrexian ships are trying to contact us. They want to speak with Zarkoth. Kate nodded. Put them through. The screen came to life. Another alien appeared, this one with even fancier armor than Zarkoth. The translator made his voice sound cold and angry. I am Sub-Commander Krath. Return Commander Zarkoth to us immediately. If you refuse, we will destroy your ship and everyone on it. Kate looked at the alien on the screen with calm eyes. She spoke slowly and clearly so there could be no misunderstanding. You could try that, but then you would never learn what we did to your boarding party, and you would have to explain to your leaders how you lost an entire team to a ship full of unarmed explorers. There was a long silence. Kate could see the alien thinking, calculating the situation. Finally, he spoke again. What do you want, human? First, you will send us supplies to repair our ship. Then you will move your vessels back to a safe distance. After that, we are going to have a long talk about borders, territory, and why attacking peaceful ships is a very bad idea. And if we refuse? Kate gestured around the control room. Dead and wounded aliens lay everywhere. Her crew stood ready with captured weapons. The walls were marked with burns and blood. Then I start sending your people back to you in pieces, one at a time. Your choice. Zarkoth spoke up from where he sat. His translator clicked and buzzed. She means it, Krath. These humans are not like any species we have encountered before. They do not fear death. They actually seem to enjoy fighting. Our training manuals have nothing about creatures like this. Krath stared at Kate through the screen. She stared back without blinking. Finally, the alien made a gesture that might have been agreement. Very well. We will send repair supplies, but this incident will be reported to Imperial Command. You have made powerful enemies today, human. No, Kate said firmly. You made enemies when you attacked us without warning. We were just flying through space, exploring. You chose violence. Remember that when you file your report. The screen went dark. Kate lowered her weapon slightly but kept it ready. She looked at her crew, at these scientists and explorers who had become fighters. Good work, everyone. Now we have work to do. We need to get this ship moving again before they change their minds. The Vrexians sent containers of repair equipment. Kate kept Zarkoth close by as insurance while her crew worked day and night to fix the damaged systems. Danny Price showed a talent for understanding alien technology. Within 2 days, the ship had basic engines and shields working again. During those 2 days, Kate learned about the Vrexian Empire. She forced Zarkoth to tell her everything. The Empire was huge, controlling hundreds of star systems. They had crushed many civilizations, turning some into slaves and destroying others completely. Their method was simple but effective. They would appear with overwhelming force, demand surrender, and destroy anyone who resisted. Most species gave up immediately when they saw the size of the Vrexian fleet. Those who fought back were wiped out as examples to others. They had been doing this for centuries. They had never lost. Why do you fight? Zarkoth asked during one of their conversations. You must know we are much stronger than you. Our fleet has thousands of ships. Your vessel is alone out here. Fighting us is pointless. Kate looked at him with something like pity. That is exactly why you will never understand humans. We do not fight because we think we can win. We fight because not fighting is impossible for us. You see numbers and calculations. We see a choice, and we always choose to stand up no matter what. That makes no sense. It is not logical. That is the point. Humans are not always logical. Kate sat back in her chair. Let me tell you about Earth, Zarkoth. Our homeworld spent millions of years trying to kill us. We had to fight giant predators, survive terrible diseases, and live through ice ages. 99% of every species that ever lived on Earth died out. But humans survived. Do you know why? Zarkoth said nothing. Because we are too stubborn to quit. When something tries to kill us, we fight back. When we face impossible situations, we try anyway. We spent 100,000 years clawing our way to the top of the food chain on a planet that was actively hostile to life. We did not just survive, we won. We conquered our entire world. Then we left it and started conquering space. She stood and walked to the window, looking out at the Vrexian ships in the distance. This vessel and this crew are explorers. We are scientists. We are the nice humans, Zarkoth. The ones who want to learn and make friends. And you attacked us. She turned back to face him. Imagine what will happen when the warrior humans find out. The ones who are trained and equipped for war. The ones who are not nice. For the first time, Zarkoth truly understood the size of his mistake. He had not just attacked a weak ship. He had attacked a member of a species that did not understand the meaning of surrender. A species that would hold grudges and fight back with everything they had. What will you do now? He asked quietly. We are going to leave this area. We are going to go back to human space. And we are going to tell our people exactly what happened here. Kate looked him straight in his compound eyes. After that, the choice will be yours. You can leave us alone and we will leave you alone. Or you can keep attacking us. But if you choose war, you will learn what humans are really capable of. 3 days after the first attack, the Horizon's Edge was ready to fly again. Kate brought Zarkoth to the airlock where the other captured Vrexians waited to be returned to their ships. Take a message to your empire, she said. Tell them that humans are not prey. We are predators who learn to explore instead of hunt. But we still remember how to kill when we need to. Tell them that the next time they see a human ship, they should turn around and go the other way. Zarkoth looked at her one last time. I will deliver your message, but I do not think they will listen. The Empire has never retreated from anyone. Then they will learn a hard lesson, Kate said, and you will be the one who has to tell them you were warned. The aliens were sent back through the airlock to their ships. Kate watched them go, then ordered her crew to prepare for departure. Do you think they will actually leave us alone? Jake asked. His face was still swollen, but he could see out of both eyes again. No, Kate said honestly. They are bullies. They have been winning for too long. They think they are invincible. She smiled grimly. They are going to learn that humans do not accept bullies. One way or another, they are going to learn. The Horizon's Edge jumped to faster than light speed, leaving Vrexian space behind. But Kate knew this was not the end. It was just the beginning. Somewhere in the vast Vrexian Empire, commanders would receive Zarkoth's report. They would read about the humans who refused to surrender, who fought against impossible odds, who killed 8 trained soldiers and wounded 9 more, and they would make a decision. They could back down and leave humanity alone, or they could send more ships to crush these upstart aliens who dared to resist. Kate hoped they would choose peace, but she knew they probably would not. Bullies rarely learn until someone bloodied their nose properly. The fight on her ship had been just the first punch. The real war was coming, and when it did, humanity would be ready. 3 months passed. Kate's warning to the Vrexian Empire was ignored, just as she expected. The Empire had been conquering for too long to take threats seriously, especially from a species they had never heard of before. The Valley Forge was a cargo transport carrying medical supplies to a colony on the edge of human space. Captain Linda Hayes commanded a crew of 20 merchant spacers. She was 50 years old and had spent 20 years as a military fighter pilot before going civilian. She knew space combat better than most active duty officers. When the Vrexian battle group appeared demanding she surrender her cargo, Linda's response was immediate and clear. You want our supplies? Come and take them. The Vrexians attacked. They expected an easy capture. After all, the Valley Forge was just a cargo ship with minimal weapons. It should have been simple. Linda Hayes showed them why you should never assume anything about human ships. She flew her ship into a nearby asteroid field, using the floating rocks as cover and weapons. The Valley Forge was slow but maneuverable. Linda knew every trick learned in 20 years of combat flying. She made the Vrexians chase her through narrow spaces between giant asteroids. When they got close, she released cargo containers filled with volatile chemicals. Then she shot the containers. The explosions turned the space around her ship into a deadly maze of fire and shrapnel. 3 Vrexian warships were destroyed. 2 more were damaged badly. The rest backed off, not willing to risk more losses trying to capture 1 cargo ship. Linda sent a message to the retreating ships. Tell your commanders that was just a cargo hauler with a middle-aged pilot. Imagine what our actual warships will do to you. Word spread through the galaxy. Different alien species heard about these encounters and began to pay attention. Humans were new to deep space, but they were already making a name for themselves as beings you did not want to fight. The Zephyr Collective was a peaceful alliance of 6 different species. They had been watching the Vrexian Empire expand for decades, slowly taking over system after system. The collective had hoped the Empire would eventually leave them alone if they stayed quiet and non-threatening. But bullies do not leave victims alone just because they stay quiet. The Empire had started making demands of the collective, asking for tribute and resources. It was clear that conquest would come eventually. Thesix was a being from a species that looked like intelligent plants. They served as the head diplomat for the Zephyr Collective. When they heard about the human encounters with the Vrexians, Thesix immediately sent envoys to Earth. The meeting took place in Geneva, Earth's diplomatic center. Thesix met with Ambassador Frank Chen, who represented Earth's government in dealing with alien species. "We have watched the Vrexian Empire crush everyone who opposed them," Thesix explained through their translator. "They have superior technology and vast fleets, yet you, with a single exploration ship, defeated them. We need to understand how this is possible." Frank chose his words carefully. "We come from a world that taught us to survive against terrible odds. Fighting is part of our nature. Other species might calculate chances and surrender when things look bad. Humans just get angry and fight harder." Thesix's translator struggled with the concept. "This seems like poor evolutionary strategy. Species that fight hopeless battles should die out." "You would think so," Frank agreed. "But on Earth, the survivors were not always the strongest or smartest. They were the ones who refused to quit, the ones who kept trying even when it seemed pointless. We bred ourselves to be stubborn over hundreds of thousands of years." The Zephyr Collective made an offer. They would provide advanced technology and access to galactic trade routes. They would share knowledge about other species and the political situation in this part of space. In return, they wanted one thing: protection from the Vrexian Empire. Earth's government debated the offer for weeks. Accepting would mean committing to a war against a vast empire that had never lost. Earth's space forces were small, mostly designed for exploration and protecting the home system. They were not ready for a major conflict. But then more reports came in. The Vrexians had not learned their lesson. They were actively hunting for human ships, trying to capture or destroy them. Small human colonies on the frontier were being attacked. Settlements with minimal defenses were being raided or worse. The Empire had decided that humanity was a threat that needed to be eliminated before they grew stronger. It was a logical military decision. It was also the worst mistake the Vrexians could have made. You can attack human explorers and they will fight back with whatever they have. You can threaten human merchants and they will find creative ways to resist. But when you attack human families, human children, human homes, you trigger something deep in the human psyche. You trigger total war. The United Nations held an emergency session. Every nation on Earth sent representatives. The debate was short. The vote was unanimous. Earth declared war on the Vrexian Empire. Admiral Helen Carter addressed the UN General Assembly. She was 60 years old, a veteran of several small conflicts in human space. She stood at the podium with the flags of every Earth nation behind her. "The Vrexian Empire made several mistakes," she said in a clear, strong voice. "They attacked our explorers who came in peace. They hunted our merchants who were just doing business. They murdered our colonists who were building new homes. They assumed that because we wanted peace, we were weak." She paused, looking out at the assembly. Bullies throughout history have made this same mistake. They mistake kindness for weakness. They think that people who seek peace cannot or will not fight. The Vrexians are about to learn what every bully eventually learns, that the nice people are only nice because they choose to be, and when you hurt them enough, they stop being nice. We are going to accept the Zephyr Collective's offer of alliance. We are going to protect them from the Empire. And we are going to show the Vrexians that humanity is not prey. We are apex predators who learn to be civilized. But we still remember how to hunt. The assembly erupted in applause. Within days, Earth began converting civilian ships into warships. Cargo haulers got armor and weapons. Passenger transports became troop carriers. Mining ships became mine layers. It was not an impressive fleet by Vrexian standards, but it was crewed by humans. And humans had something the Empire had never faced before. They had motivation born from anger and defended homes. Kate Morrison got her promotion to captain and a new ship. The Retribution was Earth's first purpose-built warship. It was not as big or advanced as Vrexian vessels, but it was designed from the ground up for combat, and it was crewed by people who knew exactly what they were fighting for. Jake Sullivan became her executive officer. Danny Price commanded a science team focused on analyzing Vrexian technology and finding weaknesses. Sarah Kim headed up the medical bay, training medics for combat situations. "All ships report ready," Jake said from his station. Kate looked at the display showing the jump point ahead. Beyond it was Vrexian space. Beyond that was their first target, a military outpost that had launched several attacks on human colonies. The crew of the Horizon's Edge had been explorers. They had fought because they had no choice. Now they were soldiers. They had a mission. They had training. And they had rage. "Begin jump sequence," Kate ordered. "Time to show them what happens when you make humans angry." The fleet jumped to faster than light speed. They were going to war. And the Vrexian Empire was about to learn a lesson that would echo across the galaxy for generations. Never make an enemy of humanity. The Battle of Vrexia Prime lasted 47 minutes. That was all the time it took for Kate's fleet to completely destroy the military outpost that had coordinated attacks on human colonies. The Vrexians had expected a frontal assault. Their military doctrine was based on overwhelming force meeting overwhelming force. They prepared their defenses accordingly, positioning their strongest weapons where they expected the humans to attack. Kate Morrison did not give them what they expected. Instead, she showed them what thousands of years of human warfare had taught her species. She showed them tactics, strategy, and the ability to think creatively under pressure. The human ships moved in patterns the Vrexians had never seen. They did not cluster together like a traditional fleet. Instead, they spread out and attacked from multiple directions at once. They focused on weak points in the Vrexian formation, rather than hitting the strongest defenses. Linda Hayes, now captain of a converted cargo hauler renamed the Devastator, used her ship like a battering ram. Her vessel was slow but heavily armored. She simply crashed through lighter Vrexian ships using mass and momentum as weapons. Her crew cheered with every impact. Danny Price commanded a squadron of small fighters. The young scientist had proven to have natural talent as a pilot. His squadron used tactics borrowed from ancient Earth dogfights, techniques developed in wars fought with primitive aircraft. The Vrexians relied on computer targeting systems. They could not match human instinct and creativity. When the outpost fell, Kate broadcast a message across all Vrexian frequencies. Her voice was calm and clear. "This is Captain Kate Morrison of Earth Fleet. You attacked our people without provocation. This is our response. We are giving you one opportunity. Withdraw from all contested territory. Return all prisoners you have taken. Agree to peace negotiations, or we will systematically destroy every military installation you have one at a time." The response from Imperial Command was predictable. They sent a battle fleet 10 times larger than the human force. The Empire had never backed down from anyone. They would not start now. The Battle of Nexus Station happened 3 weeks later. The massive Vrexian fleet arrived expecting to crush the human ships through sheer numbers. What they got instead was a lesson in asymmetric warfare. Human ships refused to fight pitched battles. They used hit-and-run tactics, striking hard and fast before disappearing. They attacked supply convoys instead of warships. They targeted command vessels specifically, killing enemy leadership. They even used mines disguised as space debris. The Vrexians considered many of these tactics dishonorable. They complained that humans did not fight fairly. Admiral Carter's response became famous across human space. "Honor is something the strong can afford. We are outnumbered and outgunned, so we fight smart, we fight dirty, and we fight to win." The Vrexians wanted war. Now they are getting human war. There is a difference. But it was the ground battle on Sentinel-4 that truly broke Vrexian confidence. A Vrexian occupation force of 10,000 soldiers held a human colony of 500 civilians. Earth fleet could not bombard from space without killing the colonists. The Vrexians thought they had a perfect hostage situation. They would be safe as long as humans were present. They had never faced human special forces. Captain Alex Wong led 50 Marines onto the planet. They infiltrated over the course of a week, moving through ventilation systems, underground tunnels, and collapsed buildings. The Vrexians never detected them because they were not looking for such small numbers. When the Marines struck, it was precise and devastating. They killed Vrexian commanders first, eliminating leadership and coordination. Then they destroyed communication equipment, supply depots, and command centers. The Vrexians found themselves suddenly blind, deaf, and leaderless. The colonists rose up to help. These were civilians who had been prisoners for months. They knew their colony better than any invader ever could. They guided the Marines to enemy positions. They provided intelligence about patrol patterns. Some even picked up captured weapons and fought alongside the soldiers. 72 hours after the operation began, Sentinel-4 was free. The Vrexian force of 10,000 had been destroyed by 50 Marines and 500 angry civilians. Commander Zarkoth watched the reports from across the war zone. He had been demoted after losing to Kate Morrison. Now he served in a planning role, analyzing enemy tactics. Every report he read showed the same pattern. Human forces were winning everywhere, not because they had better technology, not because they had larger fleets. They were winning because they fought with a combination of fury and intelligence that Vrexian military doctrine could not counter. He remembered Kate's words from that first encounter. Imagine what the mean humans will do when they find out. Now he understood completely. The humans on that exploration ship had been the nice ones. The warriors were far worse. 6 months after the war began, Imperial Command requested peace negotiations. It was unprecedented. The Vrexian Empire had never asked for peace before. They had always been the ones dictating terms to defeated enemies. The negotiations took place on a neutral station controlled by the Zephyr Collective. Kate Morrison attended along with Admiral Carter and Ambassador Chen. Across the negotiating table sat Zarkoth and Supreme Commander Ironclaw, the highest-ranking military officer in the Empire. Ironclaw was massive even for a Vrexian. His armor was decorated with symbols representing hundreds of victories. But he looked tired and defeated. We underestimated your species. This is acknowledged. What are your terms for peace? Kate spoke first. Complete withdrawal from all systems claimed by the Zephyr Collective and our other allies. Payment of reparations for damages and casualties inflicted on human colonies. A formal non-aggression treaty with inspection protocols to ensure compliance. And most importantly, you leave us alone. And if we refuse these terms? Admiral Carter leaned forward. Then we continue what we started. Humans are very good at one thing above all others. We persist. We fought wars on Earth that lasted decades, even centuries. We do not get tired. We do not quit. We will take apart your empire piece by piece until you have nothing left except memories of how powerful you used to be. Ironclaw studied the humans for a long time. Finally, he made a gesture of acceptance. Your terms are agreed to, but I must ask a question. What made your species this way? What created such intensity? Ambassador Chen answered. We evolved on a planet that tried to kill us constantly. We survived ice ages, volcanic eruptions, and diseases that wiped out huge portions of our population. We fought predators with nothing but stone tools. We crossed oceans in wooden ships. We climbed mountains and explored deserts. And when we ran out of challenges on Earth, we looked to space. He paused. You asked what made us this way. Our entire history is the answer. We are humanity. We refuse to accept limits. We refuse to surrender. We refuse to be anything less than extraordinary. The treaty was signed the next day. The Vrexian Empire withdrew from all contested territory. The Zephyr Collective celebrated their freedom. Throughout the galaxy, other species took notice of humanity. Earth became known as the species you never wanted as an enemy. Kate returned to the Retribution and prepared for the next mission. Space was vast and full of unknowns. There would be more dangers to face, more discoveries to make, perhaps more enemies to fight. But humanity now faced the galaxy from a position of strength. Jake found her on the observation deck, looking out at the stars through the large window. Thinking about what comes next, Captain? Always, Kate said. The galaxy is huge, Jake, full of wonders and dangers. Species we can learn from, friends we can make, enemies we might have to fight. But whatever comes next, at least everyone knows one important thing now. What is that? That humans are not prey. We explore, we study, we trade, we seek friendship. We come in peace and we mean it. But if you push us, if you threaten us, if you try to make us submit, she turned to him with that familiar, dangerous smile. Then we will show you exactly why humanity survived on a death world long enough to reach the stars. Jake grinned. So basically, do not mess with humans. Exactly, Kate laughed. Now come on, we have work to do. I suspect we will make many more friends now that everyone knows we are not to be trifled with. They walked back to the bridge together, ready for whatever challenges awaited them. Behind them, Earth hung in space like a blue and green jewel. That beautiful death world had created the most stubborn, creative, and ultimately unstoppable species the galaxy had ever encountered. The Vrexian Empire would spend generations recovering from their defeat. They would tell stories about the humans, warning their young about the species that refused to surrender. Those stories would spread to other civilizations. Some species would become allies seeking human friendship and protection. Others would give humanity a wide berth, not wanting to risk conflict. A few would still test humanity's resolve, thinking they could succeed where the Vrexians failed. They would all learn the same lesson eventually. You can be friends with humans. You can trade with humans. You can even compete with humans. But you should never ever make an enemy of humanity, because humans do not fight to win. They fight until there is nothing left to fight with. And even then they keep fighting. The age of humanity had truly begun, and the galaxy would never be the same.